What is up, folks? Welcome back to the Bibbs Corner podcast with Mike Bibbins at Bibbs Corner on Twitter for the sports stuff. This is the 5th episode of the podcast, and I just wanted to check back in with another Mavs post-game recap. So I did watch most of the game. I actually had to go grocery shopping in the middle, but I actually was watching the game on my phone while I was there. And first thing I noticed, and the first thing I heard, I guess, was that Porzingis would not be playing in the game because he apparently missed a COVID test. And apparently he's not the first player to do that. Paul Millsap of the Nuggets did the same. And it just struck me as something that I think teams are going to have to be very, very aware of going forward. And especially now, the games are about to start counting here soon. And you would hate to see something like that affect, a playoff or a major seeding game for one of these teams that's trying to get in or trying to get to a better matchup. I don't know if that reflects poorly. Well, it's got to reflect poorly on Porzingis. Being a grown man, should be able to be on top of his business. But then again, in this particular situation, the teams are probably going to have to start designating somebody to double check, make sure players are doing what they're supposed to be doing. Between this and the players that are leaving the bubble or leaving the perimeter to get things, I have to wonder how many times something like that is going to happen and affect who's playing in a very important game for some of these teams, especially in the West. Those teams that are currently outside the playoffs, or even Memphis as the team currently in the 8th seed. Fortunately for Dallas, unless Luka and KP or something like that were to mess up and miss a game, I don't think it's going to affect us too much. And if you heard the last pod, then I really don't care who we play in the first round at this point. So let's moving on. The other two notable absences on the court for the Mavs tonight were MKG again, which, if you're excited about MKG, of course you're going to miss that, but I'm just not sure what that situation is personally, or if I care. I don't think he's going to be a key contributor in any way. He might be a guy that, we know how Carlisle does in the playoffs. He'll play anybody if he can change, the way something is going, or if he feels he needs to. So I'm sure there is a spot in a situation where MKG could be useful, but as of now, I'm not seeing it. So then the next notable absence was, of course, Trey Burke, who we know has finally arrived in the bubble. So I was looking forward to seeing him. I'm hoping he'll get a look in the next game just so we can kind of see where he's at and what he may or may not be able to contribute right away. So moving on to the people who did actually play. First thing off the top, I have to address Luka, who played 24 minutes in this game. I'm guessing they wanted to get a real look at how people were doing. So he did play 24 minutes and almost got a triple-double, 20 points, I believe 11 rebounds and 9 assists, 20, 11, and 9 in 24 minutes. So he was very aggressive trying to get inside, and I like to see that. I like to see him getting physical. I like to see him. I don't necessarily like it, but it just means that he's really back complaining for foul calls when he thinks he's getting contact inside. Did get 9 free throw attempts, which again is also good to see. That's where he has to live, especially in a playoff situation. When things start slowing down or when shots aren't falling, which is inevitable when you're a jump shooting team, Luka's kind of that X factor to get inside and get to the line and get us easy buckets and change the tempo of the game, things like that. So good to see him getting to the line. He did make 7 of his 9 free throws, so that was also encouraging. The next guy I have to talk about, of course, is, my man's Maxi, who was quiet in the first game, and I was kind of concerned about him not having a shot. So he shut me up tonight. He had 18.6 boards, of course, filling in for Porzingis as a starter. Was 4 for 6 from 3. So definitely good to see his shot going down because he and Seth, I don't know what the proper English is there. He and Seth are going to be keys, in my opinion, to our postseason success. Luka being able to get inside, and then Maxi and Seth being able to keep the floor space so that Porzingis and Luka can operate kind of in that middle ground, or when Porzingis is cutting to the basket, that diving action sucks the defense in, and Seth and Tim and Maxi are going to be able to, I should say, hit those shots to keep defenses honest or make them pay if they leave them. So again, definitely good to see that. DFS was also pretty active today, early especially, and he did only get 7 points, but that's not really what he's there for anyway. He's there to kind of mix things up and give us another element. So good to see him, 7 points and 6 boards getting on the glass. Boban also played legitimate minutes tonight. He had 11 points and 6 boards. Watching early in the game, it felt like, I want to say, Luka and JJ, and really just the guys in general, are starting to get a better understanding. I feel like Seth always knew, but it feels like the other guys are getting a better understanding for how to use Boban. I think sometimes they feel like they have to force it in certain situations, or they don't know how to play around him. Really, a lot of times Boban puts himself in position to be there. So if a guy like Luka, for example, goes aggressively to the basket, he can just kind of put the ball on the rim, and Boban's going to be there for like a tip-in, put-back, or a rebound to clean things up. So that's one of the ways that I think they have to smartly use him, is just know that he's bigger than everybody on the court. If you see him on the block or you see him in position, just kind of dive, make his man loosen off of him just a little bit. And you don't necessarily have to give him the ball directly. Just put it on the rim, and he'll go back and he'll clean it up for you. So good to see that. And, I think Rick, after the last game, talked about how he's going to start using Boban more. So very encouraging for me, because, I've been screaming play Boban for a very long time. It just, to me, the thing that makes the Mavs dangerous in a playoff situation, and is the reason why I don't think any team is going to look forward to playing Dallas in that first round. Obviously Luka is a problem that has to be dealt with, but the real threat that we can pose to any team actually in the NBA is our depth and versatility. Knowing that Rick is willing to play Boban just adds another new element to our team. We can play KP at the 5. We can play Boban at the 5. We can play Maxi at the 5, and completely change the dynamics of our team and our lineup. We can go small. We can go jumbo. You know what I mean? And even the fact that Maxi can guard the 3 efficiently against a team like the Lakers, for example, just adds that much more of a dynamic that teams really can't prepare for. You don't know who's going to go off. You don't know who we're going to play. And that, again, just makes us that much more dangerous and that much more of a headache to deal with. I could go on that forever, but I do want to get back to these guys, these stats. Seth Buckets, who was lights out in that first game, did decide to miss a few shots and get those misses out of the way tonight. Was 2 for 3 from 3, so obviously still solid there. Did decide to miss one. He didn't miss any last game, so that's not necessarily anything I'm going to be concerned about at this point. Be nice to see him get back to firing away in the next game. And I'm sorry, I'm watching the Raptors and Blazers, and Van Vliet just limped off the court. That's not good. All right. Anyway, let me focus. Hopefully it's nothing serious. I think he just bumped knees. Anyway, okay. So then the next guy who I am starting to get a little bit concerned about is Hardaway Jr. Game 1, he was 3 for 7, and I just assumed he was, not going full blast, just trying to take it easy. This game, he was 2 for 11 in this game, and personally, I am starting to get a little bit concerned there. He's another guy who's a big X factor for us, who, if he decides to be scoring, we're almost unstoppable. But if between him and Seth and Maxi and, of course, KP as the weapons around Luka, we need those guys to be hitting shots. And hopefully in the next game, Tim, we kind of focus on him and he gets some fire going. Before I go into the bench guys, let me give y'all that little warning. I'm about to drop an ad here. Less than a minute, so just sit through that real quick and we'll get right back to it. Among the bench guys, and pardon me if I'm rambling. It's weird talking to yourself. So among the bench guys, Justin Jackson, who, I mean, there's, from what I can tell, a mixed feelings about him as a player. He's another guy, again, that can be an X factor in my eyes. If he can bring any type of contribution, again, it just adds to our depth and versatility as either a big two or a small four. I was very, very pleased to see how active he was cutting to the basket. Like whether or not he was getting a shot up, whether or not he was getting all the way to the rim, just to see that activity. Again, it keeps the offense from stagnating. It keeps things moving. So definitely glad to see him being aggressive and active. Antonius Cleveland is a guy who I don't know how often I talk about Sindarius Thornwell, but I was definitely talking about him last night because he was getting a lot of praise for his play for the Pelicans, and I talked about how he looked like a guy who was taking advantage of the opportunity that was given to him by this bubble situation. And I do feel like Cleveland, I noticed it in the first game, but in the second game, again, he looks like a more confident player, a guy who is, when put on the court, looking to make a positive contribution, to make a mark, and I guess solidify his spot as a player in this league. Didn't do anything crazy, didn't go off or anything like that, but just looks like a guy, and looks like a guy who could be helpful in a pinch. So, again, good. That was encouraging. I'm curious how the Mavs are going to play this next game as far as lineups, rotations, and whatnot. I feel like they're potentially going to do it like the Lakers did their last game, where they play the starters in the first half and then let them rest for the second half. So we'll see how that goes. And if so, I would expect guys like Cleveland to get a lot of playing time and before we get into the real games. And then finally, the last guy I really want to talk about in the Mavs was J.J. Barea. He played a lot down the stretch. Again, we're short on guards because Trey Burke didn't play, and he looked healthy. He got really hot, and I believe in the fourth quarter he had 10 points. And it's just good to see him be active and hitting shots and looking very, very healthy. We're probably going to depend on him a lot in the playoff games, especially if we're going to make some noise. I'm not calling us contenders or anything necessarily. I do think we're a threat to every team in the league, depending on how we play and how they play us. But just eyeing a goal of getting out of the first round or pushing a team to 7 games. J.J. Barea as our veteran stabilizing force and coming off the bench, being able to contribute and run the offense. It was good to see him looking like himself, basically, tonight. So moving to the other side of the ball, the one guy I really wanted to talk about for the Pacers was Oladipo, a guy who went from not playing to suddenly not only playing but contributing heavily. He had 16 points and was 4 for 8 from 3 against us tonight. And it's good to see him out there playing and looking healthy, especially after the Pacers just lost Sabonis to an injury the other day. And it's going to be interesting to see how he looks for the Pacers and how they play going forward. Again, as without Sabonis there. TJ Leaf looks like he's filled out, so he'll probably get some of that playing time. But again, it's going to be interesting just to see how those guys adapt and how they welcome and fit Oladipo back into that, because I mean they're in the playoffs, so anything behind the Bucks is possible. So that's really all I wanted to add. I think this is going to be around 15 minutes, which is ideal for me. I don't like making these super long. If you checked in, thank you. Subscribe, all that good stuff. I'm on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast, you should be able to find it. So definitely hit that subscribe button if you're enjoying these. Hit me up on Twitter with some feedback if you have any. And again, thanks for listening. This is Mike Bivens, Bibs Corner. Peace.